I told you not to bring that garbage in here. How dare you disrespect me like this? Take that hat off and get out of my house.
I woke up to 347 Facebook notifications. It was a Tuesday morning in September 2012, and the Arizona sun was already brutal at 7 a.m., streaming through the blinds of the apartment I shared with my fiancé Kyle. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, still half asleep, expecting the usual morning messages. Maybe some likes on the engagement photos we'd posted yesterday. Maybe some congratulations from friends. Instead, my screen was exploding with activity. Comments, tags, shares, messages. All pointing to one post. My father's post. The title was in all caps, "My daughter Emily is dead to me." I sat up so fast I got dizzy. Kyle stirred beside me but didn't wake. I stared at the screen, my hands starting to shake, reading words that would change my life forever. Today, I am publicly declaring that my daughter Emily Thompson is dead to me. This is not a decision I make lightly, but one that has become necessary after her recent choices have made it clear that she no longer shares the values I raised her with, the values I've fought for my entire life. Emily has announced her intention to marry a police officer. Not just any officer, but a member of the Phoenix Police Department, an organization that represents everything wrong with our criminal justice system. In doing so, she is choosing to align herself with systemic racism, with police brutality, with the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, and countless other Black lives stolen by officers who face no consequences. She is marrying an instrument of oppression. A killer in uniform. Someone who, by virtue of wearing that badge, upholds a system designed to oppress minorities and protect white supremacy. But it gets worse. Emily has also informed me that she is changing her voter registration from Democrat to Republican. The party of Trump. The party of voter suppression, of immigrant children in cages, of taking healthcare from the poor and giving tax breaks to billionaires. The party that denies climate change while the planet burns. I raised my daughter to fight for justice. To stand up for the oppressed. To use her privilege as a white woman to amplify marginalized voices. Instead, she has chosen to marry someone whose job is to enforce unjust laws and maintain the status quo of oppression. She has chosen the side of the oppressor over the oppressed. She has chosen comfort and complicity over resistance and revolution. She has betrayed everything I taught her, everything our family stands for. I cannot and will not support this marriage. I cannot celebrate a union that represents everything I have spent my life fighting against. I cannot welcome into my family someone whose profession is built on violence and whose paycheck comes from taxpayer dollars that should be funding schools and social services, not militarized police forces. Therefore, effective immediately, Emily Thompson is no longer my daughter. She is dead to me. I will not attend her wedding. I will not acknowledge this marriage. I will not have any contact with her unless and until she comes to her senses, leaves this man, and returns to the values she was raised with. This breaks my heart. But I cannot compromise my principles. I cannot pretend that this is acceptable. Some choices have consequences. Emily has made her choice. Now she must live with the consequences. To my friends and colleagues in the social justice community, I ask for your support during this difficult time. I ask that you do not enable Emily's choices by attending her wedding or congratulating her on this union. We must send a clear message that aligning yourself with the police state is unacceptable, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's family. Black Lives Matter. Always. Mark Thompson, proud father of David and Jessica Thompson. Formerly the father of 3. I read it twice. Then 3 times. Each time, the words felt like physical blows. 2,000 words. A public disowning. Posted at 8:47 p.m. last night while Kyle and I had been asleep, exhausted from the dinner at my parents' house that had gone so catastrophically wrong. The post already had 237 likes. 89 comments, all supportive. You did the right thing, Mark. Stay strong. She betrayed the movement. All cops are bastards. Your daughter chose wrong. I'm so sorry you're going through this. You're so brave for taking this stand. I scrolled through the comments, each one a validation of my father's decision to publicly humiliate me. Friends from high school, colleagues of my father's from Arizona State University where he taught sociology, activists I'd met at protests over the years. All of them agreeing that I deserved this. That I was a traitor. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I felt like I was going to throw up. Kyle. My voice came out as a whisper. Kyle, wake up. He rolled over, squinting in the sunlight. Morning, beautiful. What time is it? Look at this. I shoved the phone at him. He took it, frowning, and I watched his face change as he read. His jaw tightened. His eyes went hard. Jesus Christ, he said softly. Emily, I'm so sorry. He posted it on Facebook. For everyone to see. All his friends. My friends. Everyone. This is cruel. This is abuse. Who does this to their daughter? I couldn't answer. I was crying now, ugly gasping sobs that shook my whole body. Kyle put the phone down and pulled me into his arms, holding me while I fell apart. We'd known yesterday's dinner was going to be bad. But I'd never imagined this. 24 hours earlier, we'd driven to my parents' house in Tempe for what I'd hoped would be a celebratory dinner. I'd brought Kyle to meet my family twice before, and both times had been tense but manageable. My father had been coldly polite. My mother had tried to smooth things over. My siblings had been openly hostile. But this time, we were announcing our engagement. And I'd decided to be honest about something else too, that I was changing my voter registration from Democrat to Republican. I'd been dreading the conversation for months. But I was tired of hiding. Tired of pretending to be someone I wasn't anymore. The political shift had been gradual. I'd grown up in a hardcore progressive household. My father was a sociology professor who specialized in social justice and systemic racism. My mother was a social worker. We'd attended protests together since I was 12 years old. I'd campaigned for Obama. I'd been a passionate activist. But working as an ER nurse at Banner Health Hospital had changed me. I'd seen things that didn't fit the neat narrative I'd been raised with. I'd seen the reality of crime and violence and addiction. I'd seen police officers risk their lives to save people. I'd seen the complexity of situations that my father reduced to simple good versus evil. And I'd met Kyle. Officer Kyle Harrison, Phoenix PD at 28 years old, 6'2", with kind eyes and a smile that made me feel safe. We'd met 2 years ago when he was brought into the ER after being shot while responding to a mass shooting at a mall. He'd run toward danger while everyone else ran away. He'd saved 3 people before taking a bullet to the shoulder. I'd treated his wound, and he'd asked me out when he was discharged. I'd almost said no. My family would never approve. But something made me say yes. That first date turned into a second, then a third. Within 6 months, I was in love. Within a year, I'd moved in with him. And slowly, seeing the world through his eyes, understanding the impossible situations cops faced every day, my politics had shifted. I still cared about justice. Still wanted to make the world better. But I no longer believed that all cops were bastards. I no longer believed that Republicans were automatically evil. I'd started questioning the narratives I'd grown up with, reading perspectives I'd been taught to dismiss, forming my own opinions instead of just accepting my father's. And now, I was paying the price. At dinner last night, I'd waited until after the meal. My mother had made her famous enchiladas. We'd sat around the IKEA kitchen table, making awkward small talk. My father had barely looked at Kyle. My older brother David, 31, and a lawyer for the ACLU, had grilled Kyle about police brutality statistics. My younger sister Jessica, 24 and a graduate student in gender studies, had been filming parts of the dinner on her phone, which should have been my first warning. After dessert, I'd taken a deep breath and made my announcement. Kyle and I are engaged. He proposed last week, and I said yes. We're getting married in December. The silence was immediate and suffocating. My mother recovered first. Oh. That's wonderful, honey. But her smile was forced, and she didn't move to hug me. My father's face had turned red. Engaged. To a cop. To Kyle, I'd corrected. To a man who loves me and who I love. To someone who's good and kind and brave. To a murderer in uniform, my father had said, his voice getting louder. To an instrument of systemic racism and police violence. Dad, that's not fair. You don't even know him. I know what he represents. I know that black men are being killed in the streets by people like him. Kyle had tried to intervene, his voice calm. Mr. Thompson, I understand you have concerns about policing. I have those concerns too. I became a cop because my sister was murdered and I wanted to help solve crimes and protect people. I'm not the enemy you think I am. You're part of a system that oppresses people. My father had stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. You may think you're one of the good ones, but there are no good ones. The entire institution is rotten. Mark, please, my mother had said weakly. But she hadn't really tried to stop him. David had crossed his arms. Emily, you're betraying everything we believe in. Everything we've fought for. I'm not betraying anything. I'm just seeing things differently now. I'm thinking for myself instead of just accepting what I was told to think. You're brainwashed, Jessica had said, still filming. You've been corrupted by cop propaganda. I'm a nurse. I see what actually happens in the ER. I see the reality of crime and violence. It's not as simple as you all want to make it. My father had slammed his fist on the table so hard the dishes rattled. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet room. Everyone had jumped. You want to know what I see, he'd shouted. I see my daughter choosing the side of the oppressor. I see her marrying someone whose job is to enforce unjust laws and brutalize minorities. I see her abandoning every principle I raised her with. I haven't abandoned my principles. I still care about justice. I just don't think. Get out, my father had roared. Get out of my house. Both of you. Kyle had stood immediately, putting his hand on my back. Come on, Emily. Let's go. Dad, please. Can't we just talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. You've made your choice. Now you can live with the consequences. I'd looked at my mother, desperate for her to intervene. But she'd just stared at her plate, her lips pressed together in a thin line. Mom? She'd shaken her head slightly but said nothing. David had leaned back in his chair, watching with a satisfied expression. Jessica had kept filming, capturing my humiliation for her social media followers. Kyle had gently pulled me toward the door. Emily, we're leaving. This isn't healthy. We'd driven home in silence. I'd been in shock, unable to process what had just happened. Kyle had tried to comfort me, but I'd been somewhere else, replaying the scene over and over. They'll calm down, I'd said as we got ready for bed. Once they have time to think about it, they'll realize they overreacted. My dad will apologize. Kyle hadn't looked convinced. Baby, that was pretty extreme. I don't know if people who act like that just change their minds. You don't know my father. He's passionate, but he's reasonable. He'll come around. I'd been so wrong. Now, sitting in bed 12 hours later, reading that Facebook post, I realized just how wrong I'd been. Check Instagram, Kyle said quietly. Check your other social media. With trembling hands, I opened Instagram. My follower count had dropped by a third overnight. I had dozens of unfollow notifications. And worse, I'd been unfollowed by my entire family. My mother. My brother. My sister. My aunts and uncles and cousins. All of them, in one coordinated move, had cut me off. I checked Twitter. Same thing. Facebook showed that my mother, brother, and sister had all unfriended me. I'd been systematically removed from the family's digital presence. They planned this, I whispered. They all talked about it and decided to do it together. To cut me out completely. Kyle's expression was a mixture of anger and pity. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. My phone started ringing. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Hello? Emily. My mother's voice, tight and controlled. I'm calling to say that your father meant what he said. He's done with you unless you break up with Kyle and come back to the family. Mom, this is insane. You can't possibly agree with this. He's right, Emily. You've changed. This isn't who we raised you to be. I'm still me. I just see things differently now. That doesn't mean you're choosing the enemy. I can't support that. Neither can the rest of the family. We all talked about it last night after you left. We're in agreement. Until you come to your senses, you're not welcome. You're really doing this? You're really choosing Dad's politics over your daughter? There was a long pause. Goodbye, Emily. She hung up. I stared at the phone in disbelief. Then, before I could process what was happening, a text came through from my brother David. You're a traitor to social justice. Don't contact me again. Then my sister Jessica, hope your cop husband is worth losing your family over. #ACAB #Black Lives Matter. Then my uncle Mark, my father's brother, who'd taught me to drive, who'd been like a second father to me, your dad did the right thing. You're not the Emily I knew. Text after text. Family member after family member. All of them telling me the same thing, I was dead to them. Kyle took the phone from my hands and turned it off. That's enough. You don't need to see any more of this. They all hate me. My entire family. Everyone I've known my whole life. They don't hate you. They hate what you represent to them. They hate that you don't fit into their narrative anymore. What's the difference? He didn't have an answer for that. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. Called in sick to work, which I'd never done before. Sat on the couch in my pajamas, crying intermittently, refreshing my father's Facebook post compulsively to read the new comments. By noon, the post had 400 likes. By 3 p.m., 512. People I'd gone to high school with were commenting. College friends were weighing in. Strangers were calling me a bootlicker, a race traitor, a disgrace. My father's friends were praising his courage. Calling him brave for taking a stand. Telling him they were sorry for his loss, as if I'd actually died. You need to stop looking at it, Kyle said gently, taking my phone. This is just making it worse. I can't help it. I keep thinking maybe someone will defend me. Maybe one person will say this is too far. No one's going to do that. They're all in an echo chamber. They all believe the same things. Anyone who disagrees gets pushed out, like you're being pushed out. I thought they loved me. My family. My friends. I thought love was more important than politics. So did I, before I became a cop. But I learned pretty quick that some people care more about ideology than people. They'd rather be right than kind. I looked at him, this good man I'd chosen, who'd done nothing wrong except wear a badge. Do you regret meeting me? Regret that your relationship with me cost me my family? Never. Not for 1 second. He sat down beside me and took my hand. But I'm sorry this is happening. I'm sorry your family can't see past their prejudices to know who I actually am. And I'm sorry you're caught in the middle. I'm not in the middle anymore. They made that clear. I chose you, and they chose their politics. Is that what you want? To choose me over them? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Could I go back? Could I break up with Kyle, change my voter registration back, pretend the last 2 years hadn't happened? Could I live a lie to keep my family? No, I said finally. I don't want to go back. I don't want to pretend to be someone I'm not just to make them comfortable. I love you. I want to marry you. And if that means losing them, then I guess I lose them. Kyle's eyes were suspiciously bright. You're sure? I'm sure. I'm devastated. I'm heartbroken. But I'm sure. He kissed me then, soft and gentle, and I held on to him like he was the only solid thing in a world that had suddenly turned upside down. That night, I tried one more time. I drove to my Uncle Mark's house in Scottsdale, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he would be different. He'd always been the reasonable one. The one who listened. The one who'd helped me through tough times when my father was being difficult. His car was in the driveway. Lights were on inside. But when I knocked on the door, there was no answer. Uncle Mark. Please. I know you're home. I just want to talk. Nothing. Silence. You taught me to drive. You were at my high school graduation. You told me you'd always be there for me. Please don't do this. A neighbor came out onto her porch, watching. I felt exposed, ridiculous, desperate. Finally, the door opened. My uncle stood there, his face hard and closed off. Uncle Mark, thank God. Can we please talk? Can I explain? There's nothing to explain, Emily. Your father is right. You're not the person I thought you were. Yes, I am. I'm exactly who I've always been. I just grew up. I started thinking for myself. You started dating a cop and now you think that makes you enlightened. It doesn't. It makes you complicit in oppression. Kyle is a good person. He's not what you think. All cops uphold a racist system. That makes them all bad, regardless of their individual intentions. I thought you understood that. Your father certainly made sure you understood that growing up. I understood what I was told to understand. But now I've seen the reality, and it's more complicated than that. Life isn't complicated, Emily. There are oppressors and the oppressed. Your boyfriend chose to be an oppressor. You chose to support him. That makes you an oppressor too. That's insane. That's reality. Now please leave my property before I call the police. He laughed bitterly at his own joke. Oh wait, you'd probably like that, wouldn't you? Another cop for you to sympathize with. Uncle Mark, please. You're like a father to me. Don't do this. His expression softened slightly, just for a moment. I'm sorry, Emily. But your father made the right call. You're not family anymore. Not until you fix this. The door closed. I heard the lock click. I stood on his porch for 5 minutes, crying, hoping he'd change his mind. The neighbor was still watching. I felt humiliated, pathetic. Finally, I walked back to my car and drove home. Kyle was waiting up for me. One look at my face told him everything. He wouldn't even talk to you? He said I'm not family anymore. That I need to fix this, meaning break up with you and come back to their ideology. I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing. This isn't your fault. It's theirs. They're the ones choosing politics over people. They're the ones being cruel. I wiped my eyes. I'm done trying. I'm done begging them to love me. If they can't accept me as I am, then I don't need them. Are you sure? No. I'm not sure at all. But I'm doing it anyway. That night, lying in bed unable to sleep, I made a decision. I pulled out my phone and opened Facebook one last time. Read through my father's post again, and all the supportive comments, and all the people calling me a traitor. Then I wrote my own post. To everyone who has supported my father's decision to publicly disown me, I hope you never have to experience what it feels like to be rejected by your entire family because you don't share their political views. I hope you never have to see your father write 2,000 words explaining why you're dead to him and post it for the world to see. I hope you never have to watch people you've known your whole life applaud your humiliation. But if you do, I hope someone shows you more compassion than you've shown me. I'm not a traitor. I'm not an oppressor. I'm a nurse who works 80 hours a week saving lives. I'm a woman who fell in love with a good man who happens to be a police officer. I'm a daughter whose crime was thinking for herself instead of blindly accepting her father's worldview. I'm heartbroken. But I'm also done apologizing for being who I am. To my family, I love you. I will always love you. But I can't be who you want me to be. I can only be myself. I hope someday that will be enough. I hit post before I could second-guess myself. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Most of them were negative, from my father's friends and allies. But a few, just a handful, were supportive. Your father is wrong. Family should be more important than politics. I'm sorry this happened to you. You deserve better. Stay strong. You did nothing wrong. They were drops in an ocean of hatred. But they were something. Kyle read the post over my shoulder. You're brave, you know that? I don't feel brave. I feel terrified and alone. You're not alone. You have me. You'll always have me. That's not enough though, is it? I need more than just you. I need family. Community. People who know me and love me. Then we'll build that. We'll find our people. They're out there. Promise? Promise. I wanted to believe him. Needed to believe him. Because the alternative, that I'd be alone forever, was too painful to consider. I closed Facebook and deleted the app from my phone. Whatever happened next, I couldn't keep torturing myself by reading what people said about me. My father had declared me dead. My family had agreed. 2,347 people had witnessed my public execution. Now I had to figure out how to live as a ghost. The next morning, I went back to work. I'd used up my mental health day wallowing, and now I had to face reality. Rent wasn't going to pay itself, and hiding wasn't going to make this better. Banner Health Hospital's emergency room was its own kind of chaos, which I'd always found comforting. When you're dealing with trauma and crisis every minute, your personal problems fade into the background. At least, that's what I told myself as I pulled on my scrubs and tied my hair back. But the moment I walked onto the floor, I knew it wasn't going to be that simple. Sarah, one of the other nurses, gave me a sympathetic look. I saw the Facebook thing. I'm so sorry. You saw it? Might look convinced, but she didn't push. We had patients to see, work to do. The ER didn't stop because your life was falling apart. But throughout the day, I caught other nurses and doctors looking at me. Whispering. I saw one of the residents, Marcus, show his phone to another doctor. They both glanced my way, then quickly looked away when they realized I'd noticed. The word was out. Everyone knew. During lunch, I sat alone in the break room, trying to eat a sandwich I had no appetite for. The TV was on, playing CNN, something about the upcoming election. Obama versus Romney. My father would be voting Obama, of course. I'd be voting Romney. Another betrayal in his eyes. Emily? A voice from the doorway made me look up. Dr. Patricia Gwynn, one of the ER attendings, stood there with a kind expression. Can I sit? Sure. She sat down across from me, her own lunch in hand. We ate in silence for a moment. I heard about what happened with your family, she said finally. Everyone's heard. My father made sure of that. I want you to know that what he did was abusive. Public shaming is a form of emotional abuse. You didn't deserve that. The words hit me harder than I expected. I'd been so focused on defending myself, on trying to understand, that I hadn't really processed it as abuse. But that's what it was, wasn't it? My father had weaponized social media to humiliate me. Thank you, I managed. I'm also a therapist, Dr. Nguyen continued. Well, I was before I went to med school. If you ever need someone to talk to, someone who understands family estrangement, I have some colleagues I can recommend. You think this is permanent? That they're really never going to speak to me again? I think your father made a very public statement. Walking it back would require him to admit he was wrong in front of all those same people. That's hard for anyone, but especially hard for someone who's built their identity around being righteous and politically correct. So I'm just supposed to accept that I've lost my entire family? I'm saying you should prepare for that possibility. And get support so you can process the grief that comes with it. She slid a business card across the table. This is a therapist I know. She specializes in family estrangement. Just think about it. I took the card, turning it over in my hands. Dr. Patricia Martinez, licensed therapist, family systems specialist. Thank you, I said again. And Emily? For what it's worth, I've met Kyle a few times when he's brought patients in. He's a good cop. One of the ones who actually cares. Your father is wrong about him. That almost broke me. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. After she left, I stared at that business card for a long time. Finally, I pulled out my phone and sent a text to the number. Hi, my name is Emily. Dr. Nguyen referred me. I'd like to make an appointment. The response came quickly. I have an opening Thursday at 4. Does that work? Yes. Thank you. It felt like admitting defeat somehow. Like by going to therapy, I was acknowledging that this was real, that my family wasn't coming back, that I needed professional help to deal with what they'd done. But maybe that was okay. Maybe needing help wasn't weakness. The rest of the week crawled by. I worked long shifts, came home exhausted, and tried not to check social media. Kyle was working nights, so we passed each other like ships, him leaving as I came home, me leaving as he returned. On Thursday, I sat in Dr. Martinez's office, a small, comfortable space in North Phoenix with soft lighting and plants everywhere. She was in her 50s, with kind eyes and a calm presence that immediately made me feel safe. Tell me what brought you here, she said after we'd gone through the initial paperwork. So I told her. Everything. The dinner, the Facebook post, the systematic cutting off, my uncle's rejection. I talked for 45 minutes straight, barely pausing for breath, and by the end I was crying so hard I could barely speak. Dr. Martinez handed me tissues and waited patiently until I could breathe again. What you've experienced is a particularly cruel form of family rejection, she said finally. Public disowning is designed to humiliate you and isolate you. It's a way of controlling the narrative and ensuring that everyone sees your father as righteous and you as wrong. It's also a way of making it very difficult for you to come back, because the price of reconciliation would be complete submission to his worldview. So what do I do? First, you grieve. What you've lost is real. Your family, your community, your sense of identity. Those things matter. You're allowed to be sad about losing them. But they're the ones who rejected me. Shouldn't I be angry? You can be angry and sad at the same time. Grief isn't neat. It's messy and complicated, and it comes in waves. How long does it last? She smiled sadly. I can't tell you that. Everyone's different. But I can tell you that with work, it gets easier. You learn to build a new life. New family. New community. The hole never completely goes away, but it stops being the center of your existence. That sounds lonely. It can be. But it can also be freeing. You get to choose who you let into your life now. You get to build relationships based on mutual respect and acceptance, not blood obligation. Over the next few weeks, I saw Dr. Martinez twice a week. We worked on processing the trauma, on setting boundaries, on learning to separate my self-worth from my family's approval. It helped. Slowly, gradually, I started to feel less like I was drowning and more like I was treading water. But the wedding was looming, and that presented a whole new set of problems. Kyle and I had originally planned a big wedding. His family was large and close-knit, lots of cousins and aunts and uncles. We'd booked a nice venue, planned for 150 guests, hired a photographer and caterer. But now, with my side of the guest list completely empty, the whole thing felt wrong. We could postpone, Kyle suggested one night. We were sitting at our tiny kitchen table, looking at the seating chart that now showed 45 people on his side and exactly one on mine, my college roommate Lisa, who was the only friend who'd stuck by me through all of this. No. I'm not postponing our wedding because my family are assholes. That gives them power they don't deserve. Then we make it smaller. More intimate. We cancel the big venue and do something simple. Like what? He thought for a moment. One of the guys at work, his brother is a fire captain. Station 14 has a big room they use for events sometimes. We could do it there. Small ceremony, just people who actually care about us. The idea of getting married in a fire station felt strange at first. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Kyle's colleagues had become like family to me over the past 2 years. They were the ones who understood what it meant to be with someone in public service. They were the ones who had my back. Okay, I said. Let's do it. We canceled the venue, lost our deposit, and booked Station 14 for December 15th. Sent out new invitations to a much smaller guest list. Kyle's parents, his siblings, his extended family. His colleagues from Phoenix PD. And Lisa. One person from my entire life before Kyle. One friend who'd looked at the situation and decided that friendship mattered more than politics. The week before the wedding, Lisa came over to help me shop for a dress. We went to a bridal shop in Scottsdale, me trying on dress after dress while she gave opinions. What about this one? I stepped out of the dressing room in a simple white A-line dress, nothing fancy, just clean and elegant. You look beautiful, Lisa said. But her expression was sad. What's wrong? Your mom should be here. Your sister. This is supposed to be a moment you share with your family. I don't have a family anymore. That's not true. You have Kyle. You have his family. You have me. It's not the same. No, she admitted. It's not. I bought the dress and tried not to think about how my mother should have been there, crying happy tears, telling me how beautiful I looked. How my sister should have been trying on bridesmaid dresses, arguing about colors and styles. Instead, it was just me and Lisa, and the absence of everyone else was deafening. The day before the wedding, I made one last attempt. I knew it was probably futile, but I had to try. I wrote an email to my father. Dad, tomorrow I'm getting married. I'm marrying Kyle Harrison, and I love him, and I want you to be there. I know you don't approve. I know you think I'm making a mistake. But I'm still your daughter. I'm still the girl you taught to ride a bike, who you helped with homework, who you were proud of when I became a nurse. That person didn't disappear. She just grew up and started making her own choices. I understand if you can't come. I understand if your principles are more important than watching your daughter get married. But I wanted to ask anyway. Because I love you. And I miss you. And I hope someday you'll realize that love should be more important than politics. Your daughter, Emily. I hit send before I could change my mind. Then I waited. Checked my email every 10 minutes. Refreshed obsessively. No response came. That night, lying in bed next to Kyle, I finally accepted the truth. They weren't coming. They were never coming. This wedding would happen without them, and they'd miss it, and that was a choice they were making. You okay? Kyle asked in the darkness. No. But I will be. I love you. I love you too. We fell asleep holding hands, and I dreamed about a wedding with empty chairs on one side of the aisle. The morning of December 15th, I woke up in Kyle's parents' guest room. Tradition said we shouldn't see each other before the ceremony, so I'd spent the night with his mother, Jane, who'd been nothing but kind and welcoming since the moment we met. How are you feeling? Jane asked, bringing me coffee. Terrified. Excited. Sad. Everything all at once. That's normal for a wedding day. Well, maybe the sad part isn't normal. I'm sorry your family isn't here. Me too. She sat down on the edge of the bed. Emily, I want you to know that you're not losing a family today. You're gaining one. We claim you. You're our daughter now, in every way that matters. I started crying before she even finished. Thank you. That means more than you know. Let's get you married. Lisa arrived at noon to help me get ready. She did my hair and makeup while I tried to hold it together emotionally. Jane had bought me a simple bouquet of white roses. Everything was ready. At 2 p.m., we drove to Station 14. The fire station had been decorated simply but beautifully. White chairs set up in rows. Flowers at the front. A small altar area. Kyle's entire shift had showed up, 45 men and women in their dress uniforms, standing at attention to honor one of their own. I stood in the station's locker room, looking at myself in the mirror, and tried not to think about how empty one side of the seating area would be. Ready? Lisa asked. No. But let's do it anyway. We walked out together, Lisa as my maid of honor and only guest on my side. The music started, something simple and instrumental. I walked down the aisle alone, no father to give me away, and tried to focus on Kyle waiting at the front. He looked incredible in his dress uniform. And when he saw me, his face lit up with so much love that for a moment, I forgot about everyone who wasn't there. But as I walked, I couldn't help but see the contrast. Kyle's side, packed with family and friends and colleagues. My side, one single person. The visual representation of what I'd lost was devastating. I made it to the front without breaking down, barely. The justice of the peace began the ceremony, speaking words about love and commitment and partnership. When it was time for vows, Kyle went first. Emily, I promise to be your family when your family failed you. I promise to stand by you even when the world judges us. I promise to love you not in spite of your choices, but because of your courage to make them. I promise to be your home. I couldn't speak for a moment. Then, somehow, I found the words. Kyle, you've already been my family. You've shown me what unconditional love looks like. You've proven that sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. I promise to love you, to support you, and to build a life with you that's filled with the acceptance and respect we both deserve. We exchanged rings. The justice of the peace pronounced us married. Kyle kissed me, and the room erupted in cheers. Afterward, there was a small reception in the station's dining area. Food, cake, dancing. Kyle's family surrounded us with warmth and love. His mother cried. His father made a toast about welcoming me to the family. It was beautiful. It should have been one of the happiest moments of my life. But I kept looking at the door. Kept hoping, despite everything, that maybe they'd show up. Maybe my father would have a change of heart. Maybe my mother would defy him and come anyway. The door never opened. At one point, I excused myself to the bathroom. Locked myself in a stall and cried for 10 minutes, trying to be quiet so no one would hear. When I came out, Jane was waiting. I saw you leave. Wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm not. I'm supposed to be happy, and I am happy, but I'm also so sad. Is it possible to feel both things at once? Very possible. Very normal. She pulled me into a hug. Your father is making the worst mistake of his life. Someday he'll realize that. But until then, you have us. We love you, Emily. We're so glad Kyle found you. I'm glad too. We went back to the reception. I danced with Kyle, cut the cake, threw the bouquet. Did all the traditional wedding things. And I really tried, to focus on what I had instead of what I'd lost. But that night, in the hotel room, after Kyle had fallen asleep, I pulled out my phone and checked my email one more time. Still nothing from my father. Nothing from my mother or siblings. No congratulations. No acknowledgement that today had even happened. I was married, and my family had no idea. Or they did know, and they just didn't care. I closed my email and curled up next to Kyle. Tomorrow we'd leave for a weekend honeymoon in Vegas, nothing fancy, just a few days away. Then we'd come back and start our married life. Without my family. Without the people who'd raised me and known me longest. Without any connection to my past except the memories I carried and the scars they'd left. I'd survived the wedding. Now I had to figure out how to survive the rest of my life as an orphan with living parents. It wasn't the ending I'd wanted. But it was the one I had. And somehow, I'd have to learn to be okay with that. The first year of marriage was harder than I'd expected. Not the marriage itself, Kyle was wonderful, patient, understanding. But the absence of my family was a constant ache, like a phantom limb that hurt even though it was no longer there. We settled into our apartment in Phoenix, a 2-bedroom place near the hospital so I could walk to work. Kyle's shifts were unpredictable, sometimes days, sometimes nights, sometimes swing. I worked 12-hour shifts in the ER, 3 or 4 days a week. We were building a life together. It should have been enough. Most days, it was. But then the holidays would come around, or a birthday, or just a random Tuesday when I'd see something that reminded me of my childhood, and the grief would hit me all over again. 3 months after the wedding, I was shopping at Target when I ran into my sister Jessica. I saw her first, standing in the greeting card aisle, flipping through birthday cards. For a moment, I thought about just walking away. Avoiding the confrontation. But something made me approach. Jessica. She looked up, and her expression immediately closed off. Emily. How are you? I'm fine. She turned back to the cards, dismissing me. Jessica, please. Can we talk? It's been 3 months. Surely we can. I have nothing to say to you. I'm your sister. No, she finally looked at me, and her eyes were cold. You were my sister. Now you're just someone I used to know who married a cop and abandoned her principles. I didn't abandon anything. I just grew up and started thinking for myself. You mean you got brainwashed by your husband and his cop buddies? You think you're so enlightened now, but you're just a tool of the system. People were starting to stare. An older woman moved her cart away from us, uncomfortable with the confrontation. I work in an ER, I said, keeping my voice low. I save lives every day. Kyle saves lives every day. We're not the enemy you think we are. You're part of a system that kills Black people. That makes you complicit. That makes you the enemy. That's such a simplistic view of. I'm done with this conversation. Jessica put the card back and grabbed her purse. Don't contact me again. Don't approach me in public. You made your choice. Live with it. She walked away, leaving me standing in the greeting card aisle, shaking. I didn't buy anything. Just left my cart there and walked out to my car. Sat in the parking lot and cried. That night, I told Kyle about it. She wouldn't even talk to me. It's like I'm dead to her, just like Dad said. She's brainwashed, Kyle said, pulling me close. She's so deep in that ideology that she can't see you as a person anymore. Just as a symbol of everything she's been taught to hate. She's 24 years old. When does personal responsibility kick in? When does she stop being a victim of Dad's brainwashing and start being accountable for her own cruelty? I don't know, baby. I really don't. I started seeing Dr. Martinez twice a week. We worked through the layers of grief and anger and confusion. She helped me understand that what my family had done was a form of cult behavior, cutting off anyone who didn't conform to the group's beliefs, using shame and isolation as control mechanisms. Your father created an echo chamber, she explained during one session. Everyone in your family reinforces the same beliefs. Anyone who questions those beliefs is expelled. It's actually a very common pattern in politically extreme families, both left and right. So what do? You build a new life. You find new community. You create chosen family. And you accept that you can't change them. You can only change how you respond to them. It was good advice. But it was hard to follow. I threw myself into work. Took extra shifts. Volunteered for the worst assignments, Saturday nights, holidays, the shifts nobody wanted. If I was busy enough, I didn't have time to think about what I'd lost. Kyle noticed. You're working too much. You need to take care of yourself. I'm fine. You worked 60 hours last week. That's not fine. I like staying busy. You like avoiding your feelings. He was right, of course. But I didn't know how else to cope. 6 months after the wedding, we got news that changed everything. I was pregnant. I'd been feeling off for a couple weeks, nauseous, exhausted, emotional. I'd chalked it up to stress and long shifts. But when I was late, I took a test just to be sure. 2 pink lines. I stared at them for a long time, not sure what I felt. Joy? Terror? Both? I showed Kyle when he got home from his shift. He picked me up and spun me around, laughing. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, I repeated, trying to match his enthusiasm. But all I could think about was my mother. How she should be the first person I called. How she should be excited about her first grandchild. How she should be helping me prepare, sharing advice, being there. Instead, she had no idea. And if she did know, she probably wouldn't care. I cried that night, hormones and grief combining into an overwhelming wave of emotion. Kyle held me while I sobbed. Your mom should be here, he said quietly. This isn't fair. Nothing about this is fair. Do you want to tell them? About the baby? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No. They made it clear I'm dead to them. Dead people don't have babies. They don't get to know about this. Okay. Then we do this without them. Your mom is going to be so excited. She already loves you like a daughter. She's going to lose her mind when we tell her she's going to be a grandma. He was right. When we told Jane and Robert, Kyle's parents, the next day, Jane actually screamed with excitement. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe, already talking about baby showers and nursery colors and how she was going to spoil this baby rotten. It helped. It really did. But it wasn't the same as having my own mother. The pregnancy was difficult. Morning sickness that lasted all day. Exhaustion so profound I could barely function. And at 12 weeks, during a routine ultrasound, we got news that explained why I'd been so sick. Twins, the technician said, pointing at the screen. See? 2 heartbeats. 2 babies. I stared at the monitor, speechless. Kyle's hand tightened around mine. Twins, he repeated. We're having twins. I should have been overjoyed. And part of me was. But all I could think about was how my mother would never meet her grandchildren. How she'd chosen her husband's politics over her daughter's babies. How much she was missing. The pregnancy got harder. By 20 weeks, I was on partial bed rest. By 30 weeks, I had to stop working completely. Kyle's mother came over every day to help, bringing food, keeping me company, making sure I didn't go crazy from boredom. "You're an angel," I told her one day. "Your family," she said simply. "This is what family does." The twins were born at 37 weeks. 2 girls, Sophia Marie and Emma Rose. 5 pounds each, tiny and perfect and healthy. I held them in the hospital room, one in each arm, and felt a love so fierce it scared me. These were my daughters. Mine and Kyle's. And they would never know their maternal grandparents. My mother would never hold them. Would never see them smile. Would never watch them grow up. It was her loss. I knew that intellectually. But it still hurt. Jane and Robert were at the hospital within an hour of getting the call. They brought balloons and flowers and tears of joy. They held their granddaughters with such love and tenderness that I felt grateful and sad at the same time. This was what grandparent love looked like. This was what my parents were missing. Lisa came to visit too, bringing gifts and congratulations. She was one of the few friends from my old life who'd stuck around. Most of the others had slowly drifted away, uncomfortable with the conflict or unwilling to go against my family's narrative. "They're beautiful," Lisa said, holding Sophia carefully. "You're going to be an amazing mom." "I hope so. I don't exactly have a good role model." "You have a perfect role model. You know exactly what not to do." Over the next few months, I learned what sleep deprivation really meant. Twins were exponentially harder than one baby. When one slept, the other cried. When both slept, I was too anxious to sleep myself, waiting for them to wake up. Kyle helped as much as he could between shifts. Jane came over almost every day. We survived on coffee and takeout and the pure determination not to completely fall apart. But in the quiet moments, usually at 3 a.m. while feeding one baby and burping the other, I thought about my family. Wondered if they knew. Wondered if they cared. When the girls were 3 months old, I made a mistake. I was scrolling through Facebook on my phone during a rare moment of peace, and I couldn't help myself. I searched for my father's page. It was still public. Still full of political posts and activism updates. And there, from 2 weeks ago, was a photo. My brother David and his wife with their new baby. My father holding the infant, beaming with pride. The caption read, "Proud grandpa to beautiful baby Noah." #blessed #family. I stared at that photo for a long time. My father was a grandfather to David's son. He posted about it publicly. Celebrated it. But he had 2 more grandchildren he'd never met. Twin girls who were 3 months old and whose existence he'd never acknowledged. I showed the photo to Kyle. "He's a hypocrite," Kyle said flatly. "David's kid counts as family, but yours don't?" "That's some bullshit." "It hurts," I admitted. I thought maybe when the girls were born, he'd reach out. That becoming a grandfather would make him realize what he was missing. But he doesn't even know they exist. Do you want him to know? I don't know. Part of me wants to send him a photo and say, "Look what you're missing." But that feels like begging for his attention. And I'm done begging. Then we move on. We raise our girls with the family that actually shows up. My parents. My siblings. The people who actually care. He was right. But it still hurt. The girls grew. First smiles, first laughs, first words. Sophia was quieter, more observant. Emma was louder, more demanding. They were both perfect. And they were growing up without half of their family tree. When they were old enough to ask questions, around age 3, Sophia looked up at me one day and said, "Why don't we have Grandma and Grandpa Thompson?" I'd been dreading this question. Because Grandma and Grandpa Thompson and I had a disagreement a long time ago. Sometimes adults stop talking to each other when they disagree. That's silly, Emma declared. You should just say sorry. It's more complicated than that, sweetie. Did you do something bad? No. I made choices they didn't like. I married Daddy, and they didn't think that was okay. Sophia frowned, processing this. Why? Daddy's nice. They thought Daddy's job made him a bad person. But they were wrong. Daddy's one of the best people I know. Are they mean? They're complicated. And we don't see them anymore. But you have Grandma Jane and Grandpa Robert, and they love you very much. Okay. Emma went back to her coloring, already moving on to the next thing. But Sophia looked thoughtful, like she was trying to understand something too complex for a 3-year-old. I worried about how their absence would affect the girls. Would they feel incomplete, knowing half their heritage was missing? Would they resent me for the estrangement? Dr. Martinez assured me that children were resilient. That as long as they had love and stability, they'd be okay. I hoped she was right. The years passed. Kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. Soccer practice and dance recitals and school plays. Kyle got promoted to sergeant, then lieutenant. I became a charge nurse at the hospital, managing a team of ER nurses. We built a good life. Bought a house in a decent neighborhood. Made friends with other parents. Created traditions and memories and all the things that make a family. But there was always a shadow. Always an awareness of who was missing. I stopped checking my father's Facebook after that photo of him with David's baby. It was too painful, seeing him be the grandfather to one set of grandchildren while ignoring the other. But sometimes, late at night, I'd wonder. Wonder if he ever thought about me. If he ever regretted his choice. If he'd softened at all in the years since that Thanksgiving dinner. I'd never know. And maybe that was for the best. Then, 12 years after he'd declared me dead, my phone rang at 2:17 in the morning. I was instantly awake, heart pounding. Calls at that hour were never good news. My first thought was that something had happened to Kyle. He was working nights, and cops' spouses always lived with that fear. I grabbed my phone off the nightstand. Unknown number, but the area code was 602. Phoenix. Hello? My voice came out rough with sleep. Emily. A male voice, slurred and desperate. Emily, it's your father. I sat up so fast I got dizzy. Kyle stirred beside me but didn't wake. What? I couldn't process this. Couldn't understand why my father was calling me after 12 years of silence. How did you get this number? I still have ways. Friends. Facebook. Doesn't matter. He was definitely drunk. I could hear it in his voice. Listen, I need your help. I need it now. It's 2 in the morning. I know. I know, and I'm sorry, but this is an emergency. I've been arrested. DUI. They pulled me over on I-10, exit 147. I'm at the station now. My brain was slowly catching up. My father was calling me from a police station, drunk, asking for help. And you're calling me why? Because your husband's a cop. Lieutenant at Phoenix PD, right? He has connections. He can make this go away. Talk to the prosecutor, Maricopa County, get them to drop the charges or reduce them or something. I almost laughed. The irony was so perfect it was almost beautiful. Make it go away, I repeated. Yes. This is my 3rd DUI. You know what that means in Arizona? Mandatory jail time. Minimum 4 months. I can't go to jail. Please, Emily. I'm your father. You have to help me. Something cold settled in my chest. I have to help you. Yes. This is family. Family helps family. I put the phone on speaker and set it on the nightstand. Kyle's eyes opened, squinting in the dark. Who is it? He mouthed. My father, I mouthed back. His expression hardened. Dad, I said, my voice perfectly calm. Do you remember what you posted on Facebook 12 years ago? What? Emily, this isn't the time to. You posted that I was dead to you. 2,000 words explaining to your 2,347 friends why your daughter no longer existed. Do you remember that? I was angry. You betrayed everything You called Kyle a murderer in uniform. An instrument of systemic racism. You said all cops are bastards. Emily, please, I don't have time for this. My one phone call, I used it to call you. I need you to help me. Tell Kyle to make some calls, pull some strings. And now you want this murderer in uniform to save you? I could hear the coldness in my own voice. You want the bastard cop to use his connections to make your DUI disappear? The irony is incredible, Dad. Really, truly incredible. Don't do this. Please. I'll go to jail. Do you know what they do to people like me in jail? I'm 62 years old. I'm a college professor. I can't survive. You're not a college professor anymore, Kyle said, speaking up for the first time. I looked you up when Emily told me about her family. ASU forced you to resign 2 years ago. Too many complaints about showing up drunk to class. There was silence on the other end. Then, who's that? Your son-in-law. The killer. The bastard. The one you wanted nowhere near your family. Kyle, please. I know I said terrible things. I was wrong. But this is different. This is an emergency. You're a cop, you understand how the system works. You can help me. I could, Kyle said. But I won't. I don't make DUIs disappear for people. That's corruption. And even if I did, why the hell would I help someone who publicly called me a murderer? Who declared my wife dead rather than accept our marriage? Because I'm asking. Because I made a mistake. You made a choice, I said. You chose your politics over your daughter. You chose public righteousness over private love. You made that choice every single day for 12 years. Now you get to live with the consequences. Emily, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong about everything. About Kyle, about cops, about you. I see that now. I've had a lot of time to think, and I was wrong. Doesn't that count for something? No, I said simply. Because you're only sorry now that you need something from me. If you weren't in trouble, you wouldn't have called. You don't actually care about me. You care about what I can do for you. That's not true. I've thought about you every day. I've missed you. Bullshit. You have a grandson named Noah. David's son. I saw the Facebook photos. You're a grandfather to him. You post about him publicly. You're so proud. My voice was shaking now, anger breaking through the cold exterior. But you have 2 more grandchildren you've never met. Twin girls named Sophia and Emma. They're 7 years old. They're smart and funny and beautiful. And you have no idea they exist. The silence on the other end was deafening. You have twins? Had. I had twins. 7 years ago. But you wouldn't know that because I'm dead to you, remember? Dead people don't have children. Oh my God. Emily, I didn't know. If I'd known. You would have what? Magically decided I was alive again? Your principles would have suddenly mattered less than your grandchildren? Please. Please, I'm begging you. Help me. I'll make it up to you. I'll apologize properly. I'll meet the girls. I'll fix everything. Just help me now. I looked at Kyle. He shook his head slightly. Here's what's going to happen, Dad, I said. You're going to face the consequences of your third DUI. You're going to go to jail for however long the judge sentences you. You're going to lose your license. You're going to deal with all of it on your own. Emily. And you're going to remember that 12 years ago, you had a daughter who would have helped you. Who would have done anything for you. But you declared her dead. You cut her out of your life completely. You missed her wedding, the birth of her children, every important moment. You chose ideology over family. I know. I know, and I regret it. I regret it so much. Good. Live with that regret. The same way I've lived with your rejection for 12 years. Please. I'm your father. You're supposed to. I'm dead to you, I interrupted. You said so yourself. And dead people can't help living people. It's physically impossible. Don't do this. I'm not doing anything. You did this. 12 years ago. This is just the consequences finally catching up to you. Emily, wait. Oh, and one more thing, I said. Remember all those Facebook friends who liked your post about me being dead? The 237 people who supported you cutting me out? Ask them for help. Ask your Black Lives Matter buddies. Ask your fellow activists. They're your family now. Not me. I hung up before he could respond. The room was silent except for our breathing. Kyle and I sat there in the dark, processing what had just happened. Are you okay? He asked finally. I don't know. My hands were shaking. He sounded so desperate. So scared. Good. Maybe he should be scared. He said he has 2 more grandchildren he never knew about. He sounded shocked. Of course he was shocked. He never bothered to check. Never cared enough to find out if you were okay, if you had kids, if you needed anything. He only called when he needed you. I know. I know you're right. But what? You feel guilty? Kyle turned on the bedside lamp, flooding the room with light. Emily, that man publicly humiliated you. He chose his pride over his daughter. He missed 12 years of your life by choice. And now he calls at 2 a.m. demanding you save him? Fuck that. Fuck him. He's still my father. Biology doesn't make you a father. Being there makes you a father. He hasn't been your father in over a decade. He's just a stranger who shares your DNA. I knew he was right. But the guilt was still there, gnawing at me. What if something bad happens to him in jail? What if he gets hurt? Then he gets hurt. Actions have consequences. This is his 3rd DUI. 3rd. He has a problem, and he's refused to address it. That's on him, not you. His whole life is going to fall apart. It was already falling apart. That's why he's driving drunk at, 1 in the morning? 2. Your father has serious problems, and you saving him now would just enable him to keep avoiding them. I lay back down, staring at the ceiling. Kyle turned off the light and pulled me close. Did I do the right thing? I asked the darkness. Yes. You protected yourself. You set a boundary. You refused to let someone who hurt you use you. That's exactly the right thing. Then why do I feel so terrible? Because you're a good person. Because you were raised to help people, to put others first. Because despite everything, some part of you still loves him. Kyle kissed my forehead. But loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you. Sometimes love means saying no. We lay there in the dark for a long time. I didn't sleep. Just kept replaying the conversation over and over, wondering if I should have handled it differently. Around 4 a.m., my phone started buzzing. Text after text. I picked it up. My mother. The first contact in 12 years. Emily, it's your mother. Please call me. Your father is in trouble. He needs help. I blocked the number. Another text, from a number I didn't recognize. My brother David. Help Dad. I know you're angry, but he could go to jail for months. Please talk to Kyle. I blocked that number too. Then my sister Jessica, this is your chance to be the bigger person. Forgive and help. Block. My Uncle Mark, your father made a mistake. Family helps family. Block. They kept coming. Different numbers, same message. The family that had cut me off completely was suddenly very interested in contacting me. I showed Kyle in the morning. They have some fucking nerve, he said, anger clear in his voice. Where were they 12 years ago? Where were they when you were crying yourself to sleep? When you were giving birth alone because your mother chose your father over you? And now they all come crawling back because they need something? What do I do? You do what you did last night. You say no. You protect yourself and our family. I sent one group text to all of them before blocking every number. For 12 years, I was dead to all of you. You chose Dad's ideology over me. You publicly humiliated me. You missed my wedding, the birth of my children, every milestone of my life. Now Dad needs help and suddenly I'm alive again? No. You made your choice. I'm making mine. Don't contact me again. Then I blocked them all and changed my number. That day, I called Dr. Martinez for an emergency session. He called asking for help, I explained. After 12 years of complete silence. And I said no. I hung up on him. Now I feel guilty and angry and I don't know what I feel. What do you think you should feel? Dr. Martinez asked. I don't know. Shouldn't I feel vindicated? Like karma finally caught up to him? But I don't. I just feel sad. Why sad? Because it didn't have to be this way. If he'd just accepted me 12 years ago, accepted Kyle, he would have had a daughter who loved him. Who would have helped him? But he chose his pride. And now he's alone. Is that your fault? No. But it still hurts. Of course it hurts. You're grieving what could have been. That's normal. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Emily, you did the right thing. Helping him now would have sent a message that his behavior was acceptable. That he could treat you like garbage and you'd still save him when he needed you. That's not love. That's enabling. My family thinks I'm being cruel. Your family has proven over 12 years that they don't have your best interests at heart. Their opinion doesn't matter. So I just move on? Pretend this didn't happen? You process it. You feel your feelings. You talk about it with Kyle and with me. And then yes, you move on. You focus on the family that shows up. The people who actually love you. Over the next few days, I learned what had happened. A friend of a friend who worked in the court system sent me the information, thinking I'd want to know. My father had been arrested at 1:45 a.m. on I-10 with a blood alcohol content of 0.15. Nearly twice the legal limit. When they ran his information, they discovered this was his third DUI in 5 years. The first had been in 2015, the second in 2019. He'd been hiding a drinking problem for years. Under Arizona law, a third DUI carried mandatory jail time. Minimum 4 months, maximum 2 years, depending on circumstances. There was also a minimum fine of $4,500, license suspension for 3 years, and mandatory alcohol counseling. My father was facing serious consequences. And there was nothing I could do to help him, even if I'd wanted to. Part of me felt satisfied. He'd spent years judging others, claiming moral superiority, and all the while he'd been driving drunk. The hypocrisy was stunning. But mostly I just felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that we couldn't have a relationship. Sad that my daughters would never know their grandfather. The court proceedings happened over the next few weeks. I didn't attend, but I followed the case online. Public records showed everything. Mark Thompson, 62, formerly a sociology professor at Arizona State University, pleaded guilty to DUI. The judge sentenced him to 90 days in Maricopa County Jail, 3 years license suspension, $4,500 in fines, and 18 months of ignition interlock after his license was reinstated. 90 days in Sheriff Joe Arpaio's Tent City Jail. The infamous facility where inmates lived in tents in the desert heat, wore pink underwear, and worked on chain gangs. It was deliberately harsh, designed to humiliate. My progressive father, who'd spent his life fighting the system, was now a victim of that system's cruelty. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. I told the girls that night at dinner. "Your grandfather, my father, is going to jail," I said carefully. Sophia and Emma, now 7 and in 2nd grade, looked up from their pasta. "Why?" Emma asked. "He made some bad choices. He drove a car when he shouldn't have, and he got in trouble." "Is he a bad person?" Sophia, always the thoughtful one. "He's a complicated person. He's done some good things and some bad things. Right now, he's facing consequences for the bad things." "Do we have to visit him?" Emma looked worried. "No, sweetie. You've never met him, and you won't meet him now. He's not part of our family." "But he's your dad," Sophia pointed out. "He was my dad. But sometimes families break apart. And that's what happened with us." They seemed to accept this and went back to eating. Kids were resilient like that. They didn't have the baggage of adult relationships and grudges. That night, after putting the girls to bed, I sat on the couch with Kyle. "He went to jail today," I said. "Started his sentence." "I know. I saw the booking records. Do you think I'm a bad person for not helping him?" "No. I think you're a person with healthy boundaries. There's a difference. He's going to be in one of those tent jails. In the Arizona heat. At 62 years old. It's going to be hell." "Yeah, it probably will be." Kyle put his arm around me. "But that's not your fault. That's his fault. He drove drunk. 3rd time. He knew the consequences. I keep thinking about him in there. Scared. Alone. Humiliated. Good. Maybe it'll teach him something. Or maybe it'll just make him more bitter. Either way, that's his journey. Not yours." I leaned against him, exhausted. I thought I'd feel better. Like this was justice. But I just feel empty. "That's because you're a good person. You can't turn off caring about people, even people who've hurt you." "Is that a weakness?" "No. It's what makes you human." 3 days after my father entered jail, his phone calls started. The jail used a third-party service for inmate calls. Each call cost $15 for 15 minutes, charged to the receiver's account if they accepted. The first call came at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. I saw Maricopa County Jail on the caller ID and almost answered. Almost. But then I remembered. Remembered the Facebook post. Remembered the wedding he'd missed. Remembered 12 years of silence. I let it go to voicemail. "Emily, it's Dad. Please. This place is horrible. It's so hot. The food is disgusting. They treat us like animals. Please call me back. I need to talk to you. I need." The message cut off. 15 minutes. I deleted it without listening to the rest. The calls kept coming. Every day, sometimes twice a day. Each one costing him $15. Each one going to voicemail. I never listened to them. Just watched the voicemail count go up. 5. 10. 20. Kyle noticed. How many is he up to? 34. That's over $500 in phone calls. I know. Are you going to listen to any of them? No. There's nothing he can say that will change anything. But I didn't delete them. Not yet. Some part of me couldn't bring myself to delete them without knowing what they said. After call 47, I finally blocked the jail number. It was too much. Too constant. Too guilt-inducing. The calls stopped. But other people started calling. My mother got my new number somehow. My brother. My sister. All of them leaving messages begging me to help their father, their husband. I blocked them all. 6 weeks into his sentence, a letter arrived. Handwritten, from Maricopa County Jail. My father's handwriting, shaky and uncertain. I held it for a week before opening it. Finally, one night when Kyle was working and the girls were asleep, I sat at the kitchen table and opened the envelope. The letter was 4 pages long, front and back. I'll never forget the words. Dear Emily, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. I was cruel, arrogant, and wrong. I let my ideology become more important than my daughter. I publicly humiliated you when I should have supported you. Jail has given me time to think. Time to realize what I lost. I've lost everything. My job, my reputation, my dignity. But worst of all, I lost you. I lost 12 years with you. I've never met my grandchildren. I've missed weddings, birthdays, every milestone. Kyle is a good man. I know that now. I was wrong about cops, wrong about so much. My worldview was rigid and self-righteous. I know that now. You asked on the phone how I didn't know about the twins. The truth is, I was too proud to look. Too proud to admit I might have been wrong. So I just avoided anything that had to do with you. I convinced myself you'd made your choice and that was that. But I was lying to myself. Every day for 12 years, I thought about you. Wondered if you were okay. Wondered if you were happy. I just couldn't admit it. Couldn't admit that I'd made a terrible mistake. This jail is hell. The heat, the conditions, the degradation. But it's what I deserve. It's karma for what I did to you. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I love you. I always loved you, even when I said you were dead to me. That was the biggest lie I ever told. Your father, Mark. I read it twice, tears streaming down my face. Then I folded it up, put it back in the envelope, and filed it in a drawer in my desk. I didn't respond. What would I even say? That I accepted his apology? I wasn't sure I did. That I forgave him? I wasn't sure I could. The letter changed nothing. He was still in jail. I was still living my life without him. The 12 years were still gone, irretrievable. When Kyle came home from his shift, he found me at the kitchen table, the letter in front of me. He wrote to you. Yeah. What did it say? I handed it to him. He read it silently, his expression unreadable. Do you believe him? He asked finally. I think he believes it. Whether it's genuine growth or just desperation from being in jail, I don't know. Are you going to respond? No. What would I say? Thanks for the apology 12 years too late? Glad jail taught you what basic human decency couldn't? You could say you forgive him. But I don't. I don't forgive him. I don't think I can. Kyle nodded. That's okay. Forgiveness isn't mandatory. You're allowed to protect yourself. Everyone always says forgiveness is healing. That holding grudges only hurts you. That's bullshit. Sometimes grudges are healthy. Sometimes remembering who hurt you keeps you from being hurt again. I put the letter back in the drawer. Closed it firmly. I'm not responding. He can wonder. He can hope. But he doesn't get closure from me. He doesn't get absolution. Good. My father was released from jail in early January, having served his full 90 days. I knew because my brother sent me one final text before I blocked him. Dad's out. He wants to see you. Please give him a chance. I didn't respond. Just blocked the number and moved on with my life. Months passed. Then a year. The girls turned 8, then 9. Kyle got promoted to captain. I became director of emergency services at the hospital. Life went on. Without my father. Without my family. And slowly, gradually, I made peace with it. I had Kyle. I had Sophia and Emma. I had Jane and Robert, who'd embraced me as their daughter. I had friends, colleagues, a community. I had a family. Just not the one I was born into. And that had to be enough. Because the alternative, letting them back in, risking being hurt again, teaching my daughters that this kind of treatment was acceptable, was unthinkable. My father had made his choice 12 years ago on Facebook. I'd made mine at 2:17 a.m. on a phone call from jail. And I was at peace with it.